Welcome to the Superhero Sidekick Leadership Coaching Podcast with Joel Smith and Joe Baker. We're here to help you develop your superpowers. This is the Superhero Sidekick Coaching Podcast. I'm Joel Smith.
I'm Joe Baker. We're not here to be the superhero. We just want to be your sidekick and help you along in building your business, building your not-for-profit. Let's help you grow it fast and really scale.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook and visit us at superherosidekick.com. This is the Superhero Sidekick Coaching Podcast. I'm Joel Smith, along with my co-host, Joe Baker. Joe, how's it going today?
Hey, it's going good. I'm excited just to do another podcast with you, and we're going strong over here. Lately, I've been working with Sam on the Ninja Warrior course, and he's getting actually pretty good at it. So that's kind of like the new season of training I got him in.
Nice. So today we are going to talk about something called a visionary test. And Joe's going to actually give me a test and figure out he's going to dissect me and figure out where I'm at on the vision scale. So Joe, tell us a little bit about this, and where did you learn about this?
Yeah. So originally I learned the first version of this from the Patterson Center. And as soon as I heard it, it really helped me organize my teams, think through the kind of people I needed to hire, where I was lacking. It also helped me understand some of the different complexities within the personalities of the people around me, and not even just my team, but also like within my family, and particularly my relationship with my wife. As soon as I found out that there was a test for this, I started testing everybody that I knew, and now that I'm done it so many times, I'm kind of like just a human test where I can very quickly figure out where somebody is on the visionary scale pretty accurately. But if you have a pen and paper, you should grab it and do this test with us, as we're going to test Joel. It's going to just be a handful of questions, and you're going to put a number down for each one. And so you're just going to lay these numbers down, and then I'm going to tell you where you're at on the visionary scale. So you ready, Joel?
I'm getting nervous now, Joe. You're going to dissect me and you're going to reveal me to the whole world, but I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
Yeah. Okay. So every question is going to be on a scale from 1 to 10. And the first one is, what is your relationship to risk? Now, a 1 on this scale would be someone that's immediate reaction is to resist all risk. They want to get away from risk. They want to do whatever they can to not take risks in their life, versus a 10 that's literally trying to embrace and pursue risk. Like, this is someone who might take up the hobby of skydiving, or someone who's, constantly like looking for more risk in their life, whereas a 5 might accept some risks in their life, but they're not, actively always trying to find more risk, Sure. So between 1 and 10, pick a number. What number are you on that?
Yeah. So I'm thinking 6 or 7. I'll just say a 6, unless you can split it in half.
6.5 is fine.
Yep, 6.5. Okay.
Okay. And then the next one is your relationship to change. So now a 1 on this scale would not like any change. They avoid all change at all cost.
Mm-hmm.
Like they like to do the same thing every day. They have schedule. They don't like to break that schedule. Whereas a 10 really likes to have a lot of change in their life. They actively seek out change. In fact, a 10 on this scale doesn't even like to always drive home the same route. They'll actually look for other routes. They always are looking for other ways to go, other ways to do things. Change is something that they love and they thrive under. Whereas a 1, change is something that they resist at all costs. Whereas a 5 on this scale, accepts some change. Change is good, but they're not necessarily always looking for the change. And so between 1 and 10, where would you be on that?
I think I'm a 7 on that.
Okay.
I like to change, but I have my routines in place that's really effective that doesn't need to change. I think it's kind of depends on the circumstance. There's some things that you want to not change, and then there's some things that if you don't change, you're just going to fall off. So I think I like change overall. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially if it's growth.
Yeah. It's going to take, usually change to get growth, but
Yep.
there's not like a right answer to this. And it's not
Mhm.
about like, hey, people should want more change or want less change. It's really, what number are you at your heart? What
Yep.
number sits with you? And so next one is how many variables can you have in your mind? So like a one in this case would like thrive with like one or two variables, where a 10 would be comfortable with lots of variables. Someone with a lot of variables, they might, be an entrepreneur with three different businesses. They might sit on, two nonprofit boards, and also, be, having their kids in multiple different sports, and have a
Mhm.
very complex life with a lot of variables. They, someone with a lot of variables, they could, on a 10 on the scale, they could, close on three houses in a year and sell one, whereas the opposite side of the scale, it's like, if they bought a house in a year, that would be like the biggest thing that happened. That, they just don't handle a lot of variables. Imagine like your head, like in a fishbowl. Is there like just a couple fish swimming by? Or, that would be like a one, or a 10 would be like these giant schools of fish and all different colors of fish,
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
um, where would you be on the number of variables in your life? Do you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm probably an 8 because I
Eight
juggle a
on
lot
that?
of things. I've got several restaurants and I do ministry stuff, and yeah, I think probably an
I would
8.
say
Now,
that.
now
I'd say that.
I think uh I think it's important. I mean, I try really hard to try to simplify it and keep things as simple as I can so I don't get spin out of control. But so there's got to be boundaries. But yeah, I think I'm an 8. I think I have the ability and I do juggle multiple things. So yep.
Yeah. I think that makes.
With comfortable. I'm comfortable doing multiple things. In fact, it's interesting, Joe, that you talk about this because if I'm not doing multiple things, like if my schedule is really, really bare and I have a lot of extra time, I hate it. I hate it. I struggle on vacation when I don't have my time scheduled because I feel like I'm wasting time. It's interesting.
Yeah, feels
Anyway,
like
yep.
that you should be doing something.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Making a difference, something. Yeah.
okay. Now, here's a question about how you think logically,
Mhm.
and what is your process. So like this is a more complex one, but I'll try to break down. So a one on this scale would be someone that puts together like a list of like the day, and there's like they have 10 things they're going to do in their day, and they do the first thing and then they cross it out, and they do the second thing, they cross it out, and the third thing, then they cross it out. Okay. Whereas as you come up the numbers, as you get to like a 5, they might make a list, but they kind of do things a little bit in and out of order. But the list is really there as a guideline to kind of like just cross things out. Whereas a 10 on this scale, or like if that's your number, this would be someone that may they might make a list, and if they do, they probably have lost it by like noon, and maybe they crossed one thing out, but they do things in and out of order. They don't have to do things in any kind of systematic order. Their mind can go back and forth, up and down, and in and out of like a very routine fashion. Like a one would need that very specific routine. The 10 is very comfortable outside of that. They can
Mhm.
they could just
Interesting.
they could be working on three projects at the same time, kind of.
Yeah, so this is different than systems. Um, yeah, so I think so logically thinking on the upper scale towards 10, that means that you don't need the crutch as much. And if you're in a 1 or 2, it means you don't think logically you need a crutch, you need a list, and you need to systematically go through a system as your crutch. Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a crutch, but I would say that because the people that organize things and have tight lists, like we need those people quite a bit.
Mhm.
To so But a 10 is in and out of order. They might
Okay.
they're gonna there's some downside to a 10 too, because they're gonna drop balls.
Yeah. Yep.
Things aren't gonna happen on a perfect schedule.
Okay. I think I got
you
you.
know
I think I'm a 3 on this because I'm pretty organized with things, and I teach systems pretty well in my company, and um, yeah, I think I am. I think I've learned to be a
I
3.
would, I'd say you're more like a 5, but um, you're thinking 3 is 3 feels like the right number.
I think so, if I'm understanding the question right, and
Okay.
and that may not be, but um, yeah, yeah, if yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. So the next one is your relationship to ambiguity. Now, this would be like, you know, imagine being tasked with a very like with a big giant task. We're standing on a hillside, and I'm like, okay, I want you to go over that mountain, and then cross a river, and then climb a glacier, and then go over another mountain, and then I'm going to meet you over there at a cabin. Okay. A 1 on this scale would be like, okay, well, I need like 2 years to prepare for this, and I need a very detailed map and all sorts of like details and and answers answered before I set off. Whereas a 10's like, oh, I'm ready to go right now. I got some duct tape in my pocket. I'll be good. Like so it's ambiguity. Like, how do you feel like going into something that's very ambiguous? Like, are you able to really thrive under that? Are you able to really say, okay, I'll just figure it out along the way, like MacGyver? Or are you someone that's like, I need a lot of details before I set off forward? So,
Yeah.
and then a
So
5 would be somewhere in between.
yep. So on the lower scale, the 1, would that be if you're a really good planner, would that put you on the lower scale?
No, yeah, maybe a little bit, but I think about how we started this podcast,
Hmm.
and it's like you weren't a person that needed every detail figured out before we did it. Like,
Hmm.
or some of the things you've done, like when you started Papa Murphy's, would you say you got every detail figured out, or just enough to feel like, okay, I think we can handle this? Like,
Yep. Fair enough. Okay.
um,
I would
like
say
I
I'm
think
a,
I could figure out pizzas and people,
yeah, 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 fair enough. I would say I'm probably a 6.5 on that, 6.5 or 7.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then I think there's just one more here. The last one is your relationship to opportunity.
Hmm.
Now 1 on this scale would see nothing as an opportunity. Like, even if there was an opportunity like blinking in their face, they might not take it. Whereas a 5 might get invited to a network marketing company and maybe, you know, try something, like new, when they're really
Hmm.
kind of invited into it and it's right in front of them. Whereas a 10 on this scale sees everything as an opportunity. Like, not only are they driving around and they see a real estate sign and they say, oh yeah, let's look at that piece of real estate, even though they weren't looking for real estate. A 10 on this scale, like, literally, like, would sit in a business and say, man, I think I can improve this business. I wonder what it costs. Like, maybe I should put in an offer.
Yep.
10 literally sees everything as opportunity. They understand that everything is for sale. Whereas,
Yeah. Yeah.
5 would be like in the middle of that.
Yeah. I think I'm an 8 with that. So
Okay.
yeah.
So now add all your numbers together. All right. So the first one is 6.5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 3 plus 6.5 plus 8. And then we're going to divide your total. So your total is 39. We're going to divide that by 6. And you're a 6.5 on the visionary scale. And so now I'm going to show you what that means on a 6.5.
All right.
And I think it's pretty close to accurate. So there's, if you draw a line now on your piece of paper, and split that line, on the right side of the line will be number 10, and the left side of the line will be number 1. Split the line in half and put 5 in the middle. Okay. And then add the rest of the numbers. So add a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, the already 5, and then a 6, a 7, an 8, and a 9. Okay. A 1 on this scale, I call a grinder. Okay. And a grinder is really the people that make the whole world. Grinders can handle very focused tasks, and not just tasks like, a grinder. You could easily see a grinder as someone who like moves something on an assembly line, or somebody who, like a janitor could be a grinder. But also you could be a high-end grinder. like my dad was a high-end tool and die maker. He made these high precision gauges for like space shuttles and like, super custom gauges. But he'd literally sit in one chair with a CNC machine, and just the machine would go zzz, 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 and he'd watch it just burn the metal and cut the metal. And that's what his job was all day. It blew my mind when I saw it for the first time. I was like, wow, you don't talk to anybody, you don't sell anything, you don't have any employees, but it doesn't mean you could be a very highly intelligent person that's a grinder. So a grinder is more about how much vision you have, like, in this scale, not like, it's not like that you're a less or anything, because grinders really make the whole world. We need grinders. And then as you come up from grinder, you get a minder. Now, minders, the way I like to think of minders, they're often similar to grinders, but you can give them higher functioning tasks. Like a minder who's really creative could build your website if they're given both leadership, where someone really is able to provide them specific leadership, and they also need a plan. So if someone gives them a plan and leadership, and they kind of coach them on what to do, they will achieve what they're doing. But they can't handle like really big ideas. Like, if you have build this whole campaign concept, that's way too much for a minder. A minder needs someone overseeing them, and that's what a grinder needs too. A grinder needs very intentional leadership, someone over them, telling them what to do, this week or even this day. And so as you get up the numbers, then you have number fives, which are your operational leaders. These are people that are really good at managing a team of minders and grinders. But what they're not good at is they're not good at making a plan. And they thrive when somebody gives them a very clear plan. They don't thrive when they're just given a very clear idea. When you're like, I have this really great, when a visionary, a CEO or an entrepreneur says, I have a really great idea, and they just tell an operational leader, that's hard for them. Okay. And it's almost impossible for a minder or grinder to hear a great visionary idea. Their heads explode because they really don't have a concept of how to do it. They need a plan. What do I do each day to get there? If we're going to do this massive thing, what are the steps in place? And that's what a 6 or 7 does. A 7 on this scale is a strategic planner. And so they're really good at building that plan, and they love building that plan. And then at the top of the scale, you have a visionary leader. So that's a 10, and a true visionary leader, if you're like a 10 out of 10 on this scale, you probably don't even get a lot done. I mean, you've got a whole bunch of projects in your backyard that you're 2/3 done, and the tools are out there rusting, because you had a big vision, but then it never happened, and the higher you're on the visionary scale, the more you need a really tight team around you to really support you, to help build the plan. And the planner gives it to the operational leader, and the operational leader oversees the minder and grinders to achieve it. And so like, the more you are to the right of this scale, the harder it's going to be without a team, and so, and then it's not a matter of changing the numbers. One of the things, I think the Bible talks about this when it says like, it's like the foot telling the eye, hey, I should do what the eye does, or it's like, there's a really great passage about that. God made people different, and it's okay to be a grinder, a minder, an operational leader, a strategic planner, or God forbid, a visionary. It's not about trying to be a different number. It's about being the number that you are and getting the right place. I remember as a visionary, I would give, early on, when I was building Storks, I'd go and give a speech to my team, which I had a team of just minders and grinders. And I think my speech went great. And I was an inspirational visionary, giving them a big idea. And then I would peer back into their office, and I'd see that they're like crying in there with their heads on their desk, because they have no idea how to do what I just tried to inspire them to do. Because inspiration isn't enough to take an idea from, an idea stage to full on execution of a minder and grinder. There has to be a plan in place, and then there needs to be a leader that can actually coach them and guide them to success. And I just found the more and more that I understood these numbers, the more I was careful about my ideas within my company. And the way that it should work is you should always have a great visionary needs that number 7 around them, who really can help take that idea and sequence it into a plan where you can actually lay out, okay, well, here's what we're going to do, and then here's what we're going to do. And some ideas are so big that they need to be sequenced within the overall plan. So like when you have a good number 7 around you, I'll tell them an idea, and then number 7 will say, well, hold on, just to make sure, you didn't tell anyone on the team this yet, right? And I say, no, I'm just processing. They're like, well, good, because I think this is a great idea. Let's start it in 18 months. And I'm like, 18 months? This is a great idea. Let's start today. And he's like, no, this is not a good idea to start today. The team will kill you if you start this today. They are already overburdened. And you're not thinking about like how much more square footage you're going to need, how, to fit the new team members, you're going to need to do this. You're not thinking about the amount of computers we're going to need to do this. You're not thinking about all the things we're going to take our eye off of when we start doing this next project. And a great strategic person will think through that with the visionary, and then pass that on to the operational team that's actually going to execute it.
All right. So hey, Joe. So go through these again. There's 5 of these that you've identified. Can you just recap those real quick and just say the names of them?
Yeah. So a 1 on the scale is a grinder. Okay. And then a 3 on the scale is a minder. And then a 5 is an operational leader. And then an 8 would be a strategic planner. And a 10 is a visionary leader. This is the Patterson Center really came up with this concept. Mm-hmm. And they have a similar set of names for these. I like these names the best, but that's really where I learned it.
Yeah, well, this is excellent. It does give you a nice overview of where we're at, and I'm sure anybody that's listening that went through this can relate to this. You can probably put yourself someplace on this scale. And I think, going back to what you were talking about, Joe, it's important not to value these as different, higher values. This is just different. We're just all different. Like you use the biblical reference, the hand and the foot and the eye, and I can see how you and I are a little bit different. I can see how myself and some of the people that work for me are quite different. I also see that I see on one hand how people kind of are born, kind of created in such a way that they're going to be on this scale in a certain place. But I also see how there can be some movement too. For instance, I don't think I was always necessarily a strategic planner in the sense of the way that it's been described. I think maybe I've been an operational leader at times, but even if I go way back, I was really just kind of a grinder when I started off. Now, maybe it could be that I was a strategic planner by nature and I just hadn't grown up yet. Maybe that's kind of how you're looking at it. Is that what you would say we should look at it?
Well, I would just be careful to not covet another part of this, like at least in your first run of it. I mean, all of us can learn from a number that's close to us. Like I'm always becoming a better strategic person as I hang out with strategic people, and I become more strategic. But I don't want people who are minders or grinders to try to think of themselves, I really need to be more like a visionary.
Yep.
I mean, all of us can learn some things from a visionary, like when it comes to all of us, everyone can overcome some fears in their life and, be a little bit more attracted to risk. I think those are beneficial things to everybody.
Yep.
But I want people to be careful about trying to change their number, because I'd rather you just to be the number on the team that you need to be, because a visionary needs a strategic planner. They need an operational leader, and they need minders and grinders. It's like, it's one team and a visionary is worthless without the team. It's like they don't have any, they don't have anything with just a bunch of great ideas.
Yeah. I like this. This is good. So officially I am a strategic planner. Is that right? Is that what your test is revealing?
Yeah. Well, you're somewhere between operational leader and strategic planner. You're right you're right in there. And so I think those are the qualities that you'd have.
Mhm.
You're a little bit above the middle. Um,
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Sounds great. So what do we do with this, Joe? If we, for the listeners out there, so they've identified where they're at. What can we do now that we know this information that we're equipped with that might help us down the road?
Well, for one, it really helps. Most people who are listening to our podcast are probably in the 5 to 10 numbers. I mean, just because they're like kind of business leaders who are visionaries or entrepreneurs. And so it really helps them organize where they are on the chart and then figure out what they need. I mean, there's people that own businesses that are like, 6.5s or like you do, or 5s. And they might say, you know what, if I want to grow this thing, I need more vision in my organization. Maybe I should hire a visionary who's going to come up with some crazy ideas that I can help put together a plan for.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if they're in those numbers, they say, well, I got to make sure that I have the right team of grinders and minders to fulfill this, because that's not my number either. And when you start an organization, you've got to do everything. You have to wear every hat, you have to do every job, and so you have to and be all the numbers, and then as you grow the organization, you really want to have specific people, in place. And it's so important that you have the right people, and then you treat the people well. For instance, I learned I couldn't tell my team, my minders and grinders, my big ideas anymore. And not only that, I shouldn't even tell my wife my big ideas anymore, because she thinks we're going to go bankrupt, and I'm just verbally processing, because I married a brilliant minder, and not to say that she's not a genius and that she's the one in the family with a college degree, but she is not equipped to like handle every next idea I have. And in our house, we had to make an agreement at one point where I could only start one new legal LLC per year. And so I was only allowed to start one business a year was a rule we had to have, because I was overwhelming her, with all my ideas.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Just even you and I, Joe, we can kind of see our roles playing out with this too, with the vision and then me being the strategic guy with this, kind of figuring out, okay, how are we going to make this work?
Totally
what
true.
are we going to do? And yeah, I like this. This is good.
It wouldn't have happened without you, Joel. Like, because I had this big idea, but I needed someone who could just fill in details and then coach me to success. And you did that. You pulled that off.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, this is good. I like this, Joe. This is I'm going to hold on to this, and I'm going to reflect on this for sure. So, hey, if you out there want to know more about this, or if you'd like to really connect up with Joe or myself and really explore this a little bit more, please feel free to contact Joe. You can go out to superherosidekick.com, or you can join our Facebook group as well and learn more about it. But get a hold of us. We'd love to spend some time with you. Joe would love to go through this with you and do some coaching. So if you're in the nonprofit world, Joe's your guy. If you're in the marketing world, Joe's your guy. If you want strategic planning and leadership development, then maybe I can help you out a little bit too. So get a hold of us and let us know what you think, and give us some comments as well. So, all right, we'll see you later, guys.